At a surface level, Homer Cube just seems like another classic Treehouse of Horror segment that's able to stand out due to the characters being modeled in 3D. However, something that a lot of people share and recall, but don't necessarily talk about so deeply, is the ending to the episode. Specifically, the ending giving them really uneasy feelings or having them feel unsettled afterwards. Now, I'm going to start by talking about the episode as a whole, because aside from obviously the artwork and graphical stuff, Homer Cubed isn't really all that special per se. Like, a lot of the episode is just them like standing around and talking about the situation they're all in, and there's not even really that many jokes thrown in the episode, and it's like not even really that horror based for a Halloween or horror based episode. It's just more odd and different. It was an excuse for them to experiment and try something new and cool, especially for TV at the time. This episode was really just to show off what 3D modeling can do and to try that out for The Simpsons. And I feel like that despite all of that, it kind of helps set up to what eventually comes for the ending. Because the episode itself has nothing happening. It's very dull. You're not really expecting anything crazy from the setting of it. And aside from that, you're basically getting what's a mid-90s demo reel of what technology can do in new graphics 3D engine. And it looks uncanny and such. Like, if you go back to like really old like tech demos and stuff, people will also say how those feel surreal and kind of disturb them in a way. And that's what this looks like. I mean, it's really cool to see now in hindsight, and I'm sure it was then, but yeah, like, it's very off, and it's not scary or creepy or anything. Like, it just looks neat, it looks interesting, a bit uncanny, and that's what sets it up later, especially those goldfish. But yes, after we're done with creepy off Homer and Bart, we get to the ending point where Homer warps, and it turns out that he's in the real world. Now, this is the parts that I'm talking about here that everybody gets bothered by. After hearing Homer be upset and sad for the whole episode, like seriously, he's so sad this episode, just go back and listen to him with his noises. We hear Homer making some of the most upset noises he ever has in the series, and the most confusing and babbling ones. And there's no music or anything. Like, after all of like the quiet stuff that's happened in the episode, and I mean like quiet within like a slow term, this is just like a sudden surprise, and it's completely different from everything else, and it's eerily quiet. And you just see Homer wander around outside in real life, confused. And it just gives you this like uneasy feeling because all you hear are just like random background noises after going through like a cartoon world. And like you start to like empathize with how Homer feels like wandering down that as people stare at him too. And like he's just totally alone. Like, we don't see the family like react to anything after this either. Like, who knows like what they're thinking, how they know where he is, what they're wondering about him. And they try to ease this by putting in the erotic cakes parts to make it feel like Homer found like a good place there and that he's not just completely alone and suffering. But that doesn't exactly help, considering that a lot of people are still bothered by this and said that they're really sad from the ending of the episode, especially watching it as a kid back then, because they feel like that Homer and his family never saw each other again. And yeah, it does feel pretty distant and cold, like he's just never going to see Springfield again or anything. He's just lost there. And like a big part of that too is that despite him going inside that cake store, like you never see him come out or anything. Like, you don't know where he is or what he's going to do afterwards. And a big part of it too is the camera panning up and the music that plays. It's the music that always really got me personally when I first saw this episode, and I wasn't even that young for seeing it. The music that plays at the end of this is the regular credits theme, but for whatever reason they chose to do like a really minor and like toned down light version of it, and it ends up sounding like really sad and mysterious and wondrous, but like that sad part especially, like it just kind of made me feel uneasy when I was like first watching this. Like it just really leaves open the air of this is some strange alien unwelcoming world, and Homer's just lost forever now, even if he did find some moment happiness in the erotic cakes. But yeah, like, I mean, while it just kind of like unnerves me and makes me feel like uncomfortable in my own skin for a bit, a lot of people took this like more extreme. Where I saw somebody comment on an ending clip of it where they had nightmares afterwards about Homer walking into real life people's houses, which is pretty cool to think about. And another thing that kind of like made me want to talk about this was an iceberg chart. I know, take a drink whenever I mention those on my channel. But one of the bottom entries on that iceberg chart was Homer cubed real life sightings. And I know at first it's like, oh well, it's impossible, big deal. It's just throwing up some sort of idea. And yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea, even though there's like absolute zero proof. Like, it's just once you like think about it and don't take it too seriously, like personalized copy stuff, then Homer cubed real life sightings starts to become intriguing and even a bit eerie to think that somebody saw some uncanny 3D model Homer in real life, and there's just no reports on it aside from really deep underground specific stuff. Now, I've never seen anybody really talk about the entry either, which is a shame. But yeah, overall, the ending to Homer Cubed manages to be one of the most eerie and surreal endings in the series still, just because of the emptiness and complete 180 turn it makes from the rest of the episode. And it gives you this cold and uneasy vibe just from how unclear and left in the air everything is, as well as just how sad Homer is sounding from all of this, as well as the tune playing and the imagery. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed my babbling from The Simpsons real quick, and I'll see you all for the next video. Bye bye.